we're going to speak a little bit now about a Greek festival called the Festival of Dionysus. So, the Festival of Dionysus was a celebration where people would come from all around Greece. They'd head over to Athens and make their way over there to party, basically. This is how Dionysus also became the god of wine and revelry, because he was a partier. And so, basically, this is the start of actors and musicians being big partiers as well. So, when we find ourselves at the Festival of Dionysus, you have to understand Greece was not all rainbows and cupcakes and everything going great. Greece had its problems. It had its wars. It had its famines. It had its natural disasters, as you'll see represented in a lot of their storytelling as titans and such. But their wars were crazy. They had the they had the wars that you most know about with Minos, with Thebes being involved with Athens, and then you also have a lot of the Spartans and a lot of things going on over there. And it was not a peaceful time, even though it was a time of enlightenment where there was a lot of philosophy, astronomy, and a lot of movements in the sciences and higher thought taking place. So what the festival was a chance for people to relax from all that hard times, from everything going on. They'd meet up and they'd put on plays. So the Festival of Dionysus changed over years. And a lot of those changes happened because of... Oh, sorry, I got an alarm going off. Let me go get that. All right, sorry about that. These stupid phones just keep going off. So, where was I? Oh, the Festival of Dionysus. It's come over a lot of changes over the years, such as it started off where they would just do these plays, right? So the plays, they decided to make this a competition. So the playwrights would get together and they'd compete to see who could create the best play. So they had two categories for this. So the only two categories they judged were tragedy and comedy. And that's why now today in theater we use the two masks which represent tragedy and comedy, because those were the original genres for theater. So they would come together, and for the comedians, they'd write down their comedy plays, and they try to see who had the funniest play. And these plays were not like high comedy, guys. These plays were fart jokes, a bunch of penis jokes, sex jokes, all these things. The lowest type of comedy you can think of made up the Greek comedies. And the tragedies, which a writer of tragedy, so a writer of comedy was known as a comedian, a writer of tragedy is known as a tragedian. And so that it's interesting how the term comedian has stayed today, but tragedian hasn't, because we don't really have people that only tell sad stories anymore. So the tragedians would try to write the saddest story, and they became more popular than the comedies. People went to see the tragedies more than the comedies. So why do you think that is? That's an interesting question. Do we find, respite or in our lives? Do we find a bit of rest in our lives if we see that others are having a harder time than we are? That's my theory of to why tragedies possibly became more popular. And so that was the big event. The tragedies were the big event. That's where you got people like Sophocles and Eurydice and all of these people that were writing to create these tragedies. So you would get people that would try to write the most tragic thing. You'd get things like Medea, which got third place during its year. And it's a really tragic story. So if you think that got third place, I really wonder what got first, during that year. You have Antigone. You're going to have a lot of these things, and a lot of these plays, they focused on connecting family or group together, such as Jason, as you know from Jason and the Argonauts. He's a main character in a lot of these stories, and a lot of the things that he does affects these others. So yeah, you also get a huge influence on a lot of these. Oedipus, you know, the guy who slept with his own mom and killed his father. So that tragedy then spun a lot of other tragedies that went off of that, like what happened to his children, what happened to their grandchildren. And so this is how, you know, Greek tragedy theater started. So during all of this, we have a lot of competitions going on. So they're always trying to one-up each other. And this is when it gets interesting. So most of the way these plays were written was they would come in, they would have an actor come out, tell you the situation, say, this is, you know, what life is like here. Life sucks here. You know, if I was to do a play on the pandemic right now, my guy that would come out, he wouldn't be a narrator. He'd be a character in the play going through the things right now. So maybe he'd be a doctor. He'd come on stage. He says, you know what? Life has sucked for the last 3 months. We've been fighting off this coronavirus that is taking out a lot of people, and we're not getting much leadership. And, you know, it's not looking good for us. We've been working hard, and we're tired, and we're falling asleep at our posts. But, you know, we're going to push through, and we're going to do the best we can. So, you know, that is kind of an introduction. So what does that do for the play? Well, it lets people know what the main problem is. It lets people know what's been going on in the country during the time of this play, and it lets people know some of the relationships that may be happening here in the play and what the context may be. So what happens is after that goes on, we then have what's called the Greek chorus. So some of you may have heard of the Greek chorus before. So the Greek chorus is the group of people, and they usually represent a population. So this could be the population of Thebes, the population of Athens. Who are these people, you know? So if we continued with my model of the pandemic quarantine, Greek tragedy, then my population could be, if my story is here in Orlando, the population of Orlando. And all of these people will come out and they'll start singing. Singing. They're literally up there in the theater singing verses together that are written for this play to carry the plot forward. So this is the first time we see music in theater. So this is also not only our first plays, but our first plays were musicals, which is an interesting thing to think of. So this Greek chorus would sing and then tell us the story, and that was the end. That was the end. They would tell us the story of things as they go. So what happened though was eventually a man stepped out of the Greek chorus to try and one up the other ones, right? They'd always bring out, you know, more than one chorus. Well, look what I can do. I can one up your play. But then one day, one actor stepped out of the Greek chorus, and all the Greek chorus wear masks, just so you know, so they represent one whole unit. He takes off his mask, puts on another mask, and just starts acting another role. And his name was Thespis. And ever since then, Thespis has been known as the first actor. So Thespis changed things up. He really changed things up in Greek theater in a big way, because now, you know, people can wear these masks and change. They can come out of the chorus. This does not have to be a group telling of a story. We can have individuals play individual parts. So that's basically the evolution of Greek theater, which you'll see a video which explains it much better than I did. But that's important to understand, that the Greeks really worshipped theater and music in a way that was sacred to them, because it brought them respite. It brought them, you know, a bit of calm in their daily lives. So yeah, the next thing I want to talk about is called the Hymn of Sekilos. So when we're talking about the Hymn of Sekilos, this is important because it is the first ever composed music that we know of, because it's the only surviving one. They may have had a lot more of these. So what the Hymn of Sekilos is it's our first written musical composition, basically, that we know of, because it was etched into stone. It was found on the grave of a woman, and it's basically a column, a stone column, and in it is etched in there some musical notation, basically, and lyrics for a song. And this is the oldest one we have, and it's from Greece. And I'm going to have you listen to a video of what it sounds like. It's going to be interesting. But you're hearing an actual ancient song, so it's really cool. I find it amazingly interesting. So yeah, the Hymn of Sekilos is the oldest still living, living in a way. It's the oldest still living music composition in one piece that we have. So that's something else that Greece gave us in regards to music. So moving on, we need to talk about, we're going to start with religious music in Greece. So the main religion in Greece is actually the Greek Orthodox Church. So the Greek Orthodox Church is a Catholic branch of the Orthodox religion. And in Greece, they're very much, they're also known as Byzantine, but it's a little disconnected from the Byzantine Empire. But a lot of what they believe does come from the Byzantine Empire. So we're looking at, this is a newer church, right? It's coming after during the Renaissance, when we've gotten a lot of the Byzantine information and relics out. So this church really does mimic in a lot of ways the Catholic Church. So a lot of its beliefs, a lot of its practices really seem to resonate with the Catholic Church. If you know anything about the Catholic Church and what they do, and how they have fathers and priests and cardinals and a pope, they also have similar things in the Greek Orthodox Church. They use the Apostles' Creed. They also use the Nicene Creed in ways. So they don't differ too much from the Catholic Church, but in their teachings they talk about different things, and their music is very different. So I'm going to have you guys listen to a Greek Orthodox chant, and just so you can understand the religious music coming from Greece. So basically, what you want to listen to is listen to the sounds, and I want you to possibly think about, how does this compare or contrast to other religious songs that we've heard in this class. Okay, so then our last day, we are going to move on to the secular side of things. So for the secular side of music in Greece, we're going to see some fun stuff. So I wanted to end on a really fun high note. So there are 4 types of folk music in Greece. The first is going to be Dimotiko Tragodi. Again, that's Dimotiko Tragodi. So Dimotiko Tragodi is Greek folk song. It sees its origins coming from the time of ancient Greek poetry and music. And it can usually be divided into 2 movements. These 2 movements are usually the acritic and the cleftic. Okay? So the acritic style, it's from the 9th century about, and was created to express life and struggles and the frontier guards of the Byzantine Empire, because remember, Greek was part of the Byzantine Empire, right? And the cleftic style was born by around the end of the Byzantine period and the beginning of the Greek Revolution that led to its independence in 1821. So you've got those 2 types of movements. So your acritic Dimotiko Tragodi will sound a little different than your cleftic Dimotiko Tragodi, okay? So the cleftic musical style is actually monophonic. So when we talk about monophonic, we're talking about one sound, right? Not multiple things happening, not polyphonics, but monophonics. But it has second voices repeating some rhythmic formulas and without a harmonic accompaniment. It's composed of love songs, wedding songs, songs of exile, songs of freedom, death, sorrows, anything you could think of in the human expression. So it also talks about a lot of the bloody part of the history and the life of the Greeks. So some of the musical instruments that are used in these are the lyra. We also have the lute. And these are both stringed chordophones. So the lyra, also known as the lyre, is a harp. It's kind of a small harp that you use and play and strum across. It doesn't have many strings, but you hear about it a lot in Greek mythology. So when you hear about some of the great songs in ancient Greek tragedies, you always have the lyre. One of the most famous tragedies is that of Orpheus and his love Eurydice, as he went into hell to basically bring her back. And he used the power of his lyre to get what he wanted, basically. He had that magical power. The lute is more of a guitar. It's kind of a chordophone shaped like a pear-shaped chordophone, and you play it like a guitar, and was used a lot and spread throughout Europe during the Middle Ages. We also have gaida, which is a type of bagpipe. So when we talk about bagpipes are actually aerophones that you use a bag that you're going to press down on to create your sound. It pushes the sound through the pipes, and there you have your instrument. So we are going to talk about bagpipes later on. Of course, we get to Ireland and Scotland. This isn't the last we're going to hear about it, but the gaida are kind of your first version of the bagpipe before it's spread out. We also are going to hear about the zornas. The zornas is a shawm. And when I say shawm, it's a double-reeded aerophone, basically, kind of like an oboe or a bassoon. It's actually what people think of as the progenitor of the oboe and the bassoon. So it's kind of the ancestor of those instruments. Of course, we have our drums. In Greece, their drum is called the daouli, and it does its job. The daouli is a nice drum. And then we also have the I'm going to butcher this because anytime they do a CH, I always mess it, but it's dachares, which is the tambourine. So they have kind of a tambourine type of instruments. So yeah, and also we used the violi, which are a type of violin. So they definitely use different types of music for their Dimotiko Tragodi. The second type of folk music that we're going to learn about in Greece is called the cantata. So the cantata actually originated from an island there, the Kefalonia Island, and was created at the beginning of the 19th century. But it's a style of romantic serenade music, and it's sung with about 3 men in chorus, and it's usually accompanied by a guitar or a mandolin, and a mandolin is just a smaller chordophone like a guitar. It's basically been influenced by a lot of Italian music, and Athens, the cantata, it's a little different than in other places, where they usually accompany it with like a violin, a clarinet, and a lute. Okay. The third type of music, folk music in Greece that we're going to look at is nisiotika. So the nisiotika is kind of popular songs that were born in the Greek islands, and every island kind of has its own nisiotika and its own way of dancing for it. They could use violin, they could use the lyre, they could use clarinet, they could use the guitar, and it's usually high-pitched singing from women voices or, one low voice of a single man. They're pretty easy to listen to and used in festivals in Greece, and yeah. So we're gonna hear a lot about the nisiotika. The last of the 4 folk music genres that we're going to look at is the rebetiko. The rebetiko is really famous in Greece, and it was born in the hashish dens, so and the tekades. So it's basically Turkish style because it was born in these Turkish style underground cafes, and you know, born from the Byzantine Empire. So it was mostly it was spread actually by about 2 million Greek refugees coming from Asia Minor in 1922. And after the destruction of Smyrna by the Turks, you know, they were homesick and they were rejected by their own Greek population. And so, because they've never lived in Greece, and so they sang about, you know, their surroundings, poverty, pain, hunger, all of that, even up to drug addiction and hashish. And so it was actually a forbidden music in Greece, and was known as kind of the Greek blues, the Greek urban blues. However, in the 1950s, it kind of came to the underground world, which we have to thank the underground world for a lot of music staying alive. A lot of music, when it was thought to be dead or banned or unallowed, still lived in the underground. And we're going to see that in America a lot. A lot of the music kind of came back. So, but it was being played in the 1950s during nightclubs and in Athens and things like that, because it lived in the underground. So then we see this rebirth of it because of that. So the principal instruments of the rebetiko are the bouzouki. Now the bouzouki is an 8-string oval-shaped instrument, and it is basically a chordophone, and it's got a nice cool sound to it. And the other instrument is the baglama, and it looks like a miniature bouzouki and kind of a guitar. And then also you use the guitar for this as well. So yeah, and there's a bit of accompaniments in there, percussive accompaniments as well. So yeah, so we will, I think you will like a lot of this. I'm excited to go into it with you. But hopefully this video helps you get started. As usual, I will post all of the videos in one post and tell you how you should watch them during the week. So I hope you have a wonderful week and all goes well and you stay healthy and safe. All right, see you later. Bye.